Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take, how your family or business can benefit from current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. But before we get into our intriguing content today, please join me in welcoming our featured guest and repeat offender on Ron Siegel Radio. Bart Zandbergen is with us, an author. Welcome.
Thank you, Ron. Excited to be here.
Glad to have you with us. You weren't the author last time you were here.
I was not an author last time.
All right. So we're going to learn more today. And as always, I ask if you ever have any more finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you. And you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
While I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan, a plan to save you money, I personally work with you. Even if you don't have any needs today, save this number in your phone for future reference. 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And yes, of course, we're celebrating today. We celebrate every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Yes, I'm going to go there. I'm going there. It's National Donald Duck Day. Oh, what a quack. I couldn't get past it. Okay. Yeah. And, okay. This one brings me back to my roots. National Forklift Safety Day. Yes, I was in the import-export business for many, many years, and I always believed that I needed to understand every part of my business. So when we moved into our largest warehouse that we had before we sold the company, I actually unloaded the first trucks that arrived by myself on the forklift. Hadn't gone through forklift safety, but I had a pretty good idea, being that I did have to deal with OSHA for all of our staff. But I then got to learn, okay, how long does it really take to unload a truck using the forklift, even if you're not a good forklift driver? National, what else do we have going on? Call Your Doctor Day. Okay, if you say so. That's all. I can't say anything bad about that one. So
it is what it is.
Yeah, I must admit, when I went through school, 3 degrees, 4 years, none of them included anything to do with science because I couldn't spell science back then. But now with all these peptides in the world, I've studied those. Okay, so call your doctor. Make sure you're talking to them. Make sure you get on board. And I'm going to say, if you haven't taken a look at our website, we've published about 10 or 15 papers now on different peptides, rsrlinks.com/aminopep. And yes, I have beaten anorexia. So we're going to go with National Strawberry Rhubarb Pie Day. I don't know about the rhubarb pie. I love strawberry pie, especially with some good whipped cream on top. I don't know about the rhubarb, though. Okay, but as we say, it is what it is. Let's see what's going on in the markets today. It's been a really rocky day in the markets. I don't know if you really want to look at this one, but we're going to do it anyway. So when we started the day, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was up nicely. Now we're down 285 points. The NASDAQ is down 617 points. S&P 500 is down 102. Ow! Painful on all of those. Oil, that's the only thing that I'm liking right there, down $4.74 a barrel. And gold is down even further, $42.67. And yes, I will tell you that I don't give financial advice, but just as a silent observer, I did tell you at 5,200 that gold, be careful because anything that goes up that quickly can come down that quickly. We went up, doubled in the space of a year, and now we're down $1,000 an ounce $42.70 an ounce on gold right now. Too bad we can't see. The only thing that doesn't come down as quickly as market items is gasoline prices. Yes, we are at $5.87 a gallon is the average for California. $4.16 is the average across the United States. And Josh is probably laughing at us because Josh, you under $5 now? No, you're still a little over $5? Wow, okay, because it shows the average for Nevada is at $5.03. You're usually a little cheaper than that. Okay, so no, but he's still got us beat, Josh. So I might have to go to Nevada later this month just to get gas. Maybe not. I'm still looking to see if I can get on that JSX flight. Let's see what else is going on. Trying to find, I watch the markets, and I tell you this all the time, is you got to watch the markets to see what's going on. There's usually indicators. So why is oil down almost $5 a barrel right now? No news is coming out today, so we haven't seen that. Now, I heard that there's, we did hear last night after the basketball game, I think it was after the basketball game, the president had a bit of a news conference there in New York and said that we're very close to having a ceasefire agreement.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Have we heard that before? I mean, I think we're, what is it now, 9 weeks into the 2-week ceasefire? So I'm hopeful. I hope it happens, but I'm not holding out hope that's why we're almost $5 an ounce down on the WTI, but we'll take it any way we can get it. I don't think the gas prices are going to drop as quickly as they went up. Although in California, we might find a way to find some more taxes to put on gasoline. We always seem to find more taxes to put on gas. Just amazes me how that happens. Let's see what else is going on in the markets. A statistic, I'm stuttering here. That's okay. A statistic that's very lightly watched, but it's been very good for me, is taking a look and tell me anywhere, if you hear this on any other station, anywhere else, the ADP Employment Weekly. So yes, we hear at the beginning of every month what the ADP report, but I don't hear anybody talk about the weekly numbers. So last week, we had 35,750 was the weekly employment number for ADP. This week, and that's a 4-week average. Now, yes, I did take statistics when I was at Chapman College. It was not a university back then. But I did take statistics then, and I look at it and I say, okay, we went from a little over 35,000 as a 4-week average to this week we're showing 29,000. So in order for a 4-week average to drop that much, it's got to be a pretty big drop in the weekly numbers for new jobs. So when we're looking at that and listening to what the Federal Reserve has to say about their mandate and jobs and how stable the market is, you look at that and you say, is the market really stable? Then you look at the small business numbers and they say they're not so excited about the numbers either. So is the labor market as strong as they want us to believe? Well, we're going to continue watching that because it does impact what's happening to the markets. It impacts what's happening to the housing market. We'll talk about the housing report when we come back. And we're going to learn about a new book, True Wealth. And you're going to get the definition of true wealth. Now, I don't know how to read, so I'm going to look at this, and I look at the pictures. But 8 pillars to discussing life's riches. We're going to get that directly from the author today and see maybe we can get some answers to life. You are listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. The Fed just killed your rate cut plan. Here's the math on waiting versus acting. Got some information from Kiplinger on that one. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number, it's 800-306-1990. 800-306-1990 or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you missed any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel Lending Team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel Lending Team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 0186945. You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And every day at this time, OBMMI, they provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry. Calculated from actual lock rates with the consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. They do not tell us points paid, points received, or the APR. They tell us the number you need to put in your mortgage calculator to determine your principal and interest payment. You don't have a mortgage calculator yet? Well, if you don't, rsrlinks.com/calculators, rsrlinks.com/calculators. We put together illustrators for about 70 different ideas within the financial services community, and there's a calculator for every one of them. They are all there. They are all free. What did rates do yesterday? You know, it's the one time I really like to see red on the screen. Conventional 30-year fixed, 6.501, that was down. Jumbo 30-year fixed, 6.625, that was down. FHA 30-year fixed, 6.31, that was down. VA 30-year fixed, 6.109, that was down. The only one that was up, the USDA 30-year fixed. That's our rural areas. Generally no down payment, 6.219. That one was up, and it's the only one out of them that was up. If you want our thoughts about the market, rsrlinks.com/HBOD, rsrlinks.com/HBOD. What are the markets doing today? S&P 500 is now down 107 points. You got the 10-year Treasury down 4 basis points, 4.525 right now, as just clicked on there. And the mortgage bond, fairly flat. It's down a little bit, 3 basis points. Remember, bond down, rates up. It's math, not an opinion. So we've got the mortgage bond down just a little bit. Doesn't matter. It's not enough to really mean anything. Why is all that happening? That's why you tune into Ron Siegel Radio. Well, it's all got to do with oil. Oil prices are down. Stocks and mortgage bonds are down after the latest comments from President Trump. Surprise, surprise that he came out with comments.
Surprise, surprise.
Once again, signal that a peace deal with Iran may be near. Where have we heard that before? President Trump told the media late last night that there are no sticking points left in negotiations with Iran, and that he believes a deal to end the war could come in 2 to 3 days, which would set up a path to fully open the Strait of Hormuz. We've heard this story before. But for now, the market is reacting positively on the optimism. Sometimes I think they just want to act positive until we see the next rockets flying. Existing home sales released this morning, showing the closings on existing home sales in May rose by 3.2% to an annualized pace of 4.17 million, which was a nice beat. There was a positive revision of April, plus 0.5% from the originally reported figure. Sales were up 3.7% in May. Sales are now up 3.2% year over year. And yes, I do have a list of homes that are maybe available to come on the market, but aren't there yet. If you want that list, give me a call. 800-306-1990. Existing inventory rose 3.3% to 1.55 million units, is just above the level seen this time last year. Based on the pace of sales, the month supply of inventory is 4.5 months, just below a balanced market of 4.6. Median home price rose 2.8% last month and a roughly 1.3% year over year to $429,000. That's national, not here in California. Record high for May. Remember, this is not appreciation. It is the mix of sales. Anytime you hear median home price, there's no good use for it, but it's something that we've used for years, so we still use it. National Association of Realtors released their Realtor Confidence Index within this report, showing that homes remained on the market for 29 days, down from 32 days in April, but up slightly from 27 days this time last year. 25% of the homes sold above the listing price, which is up from 21% the previous month, but down from 28% last year. These two stats show that the housing market remains resilient despite higher rates. First-time home buyers accounted for 35% of sales, up from 30% last year, and is the highest level since June 2020. This is a volatile figure, but the best level we have seen in a long time. Cash buyers made up 25% of transactions, down from 27% last year. Investors accounted for 14%, which was down from 17% last year. The ADP released their weekly employment report for the week ending May 23rd, showing that on average there were 29,000 jobs created per week over the previous 4 weeks. The previous report was revised lower, from 36,000 to 30,500 per week. The latest report would portend roughly 125,000 jobs over a monthly period, which is very close to what ADP reported for the month of May. And the Consumer Price Index inflation report will be released tomorrow for the month of May and will be important, especially ahead of Kevin Warsh's first Fed meeting as chair next week. The market is expecting the headline all-in inflation to rise from 3.8% to 4.2%. That's a year-over-year number, mostly due to the oil prices. Not helping is a negative 0.7% energy reading from last year, which will make the rise on a year-over-year basis appear greater. Core rate strips out food and energy for people that don't use food or energy, and is most important, is anticipated to either remain at 2.8 or rise to 2.9. Unlike the previous report, shelter should return to normal, as there will not be a catch-up from the shutdown as seen in April. That reading, because of the large weighting, could have a significant influence on the numbers. That's the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by rsrlinks.com/mobile app, rsrloans.com. RSR Loan. Got to get those touts. So let's chat. We've got our guest. Bart is with us. Bart Zandbergen is with us. Author now, still a financial advisor, not giving financial advice on Ron Siegel Radio. If you want financial advice from Bart, call him and discuss that personally. So no financial advice here on Ron Siegel Radio.
Fair enough.
So tell me about this new book you wrote.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It's been out now for 2 weeks. It's doing quite well. It was something that, has been on my mind, honestly, since about the year 2001, the whole concept. I got into the business as a financial advisor in 1992. When you hit the ground running and you're just do what you have to do to make it. And over time, I became successful enough, had some really great clients. And I noticed over time that I saw a commonality, not with everybody, but with some, that given all the money that they had that I was managing, and I still noticed that there wasn't fulfillment or happiness. And so then I started to think to myself over time, like, what is wealth all about? What if wealth wasn't just about money? And, kind of in maybe a fortuitous way, I went to a financial advisor coaching conference, and they talked about true wealth, just kind of the concept of it, that it's not just about money. And that really resonated with me. And over the next couple of years, I really, really thought about that and started to put what my definition of true wealth is. What came from that was the 8 pillars that I write about in this book. Implemented it in my practice. So every client that I meet with, we do a financial plan and we talk about the things beyond money, what makes one wealthy. Because I want to make sure my clients, obviously I'm going to manage their money properly and safely, and that they're happy with that. But I want to make sure they have a fulfilled life.
That might be a lot bigger than the money.
Definitely bigger.
I think we've all known people that
Yeah.
have had money and they're not happy.
Yeah. And that's what was kind of the premise of this book, or what initiated the thought about doing this. About 5 or 6 years ago, my PR person said, you talk about this, you should do a book. And I said, yeah, one of these days. And then, 2 years ago, almost to the day, I woke up, at 2:00 in the morning. And for whatever reason, I was just guided, like, this is the year you're going to do it. So it took me 2 years. And it is a much, much more daunting and bigger project than I had anticipated.
Yeah, it's amazing how it's not just a matter of sitting there and putting something out.
Yeah. I mean, it's humbling. It's cathartic a bit, because what I didn't intend to do was write it about, and I say this positively, but my memoirs, right? Because the best examples I could use were examples of my life. And so most of the examples are me, from childhood to today. And so ultimately what this book ends up being is, I think, a great guide for people, to help really understand, to find, I think, to help identify what, true happiness and true wealth is all about. But also a great legendary piece for my legacy piece, I should say, not legendary, legacy piece for, my kids and my grandkids, and which is actually one of the pillars is legacy. So
Sure.
yeah.
Well, what are we doing it for?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and I know there's some people that are all about themselves, but I think a lot of us, you look at it and say, okay, first I have to take care of my wife, right? And make sure that she's happy, and then the kids and the grandkids. Sometimes I say that if I could skip the kid part and just go straight to grandkids, that would be great. They're fun.
Yep.
But looking at that, it must be kind of challenging. I mean, I'm doing some books on and commentary on the markets,
Yeah.
but I don't have to dig introspectively.
That was the biggest challenge of the book, was really to go deep. And there was moments, that I got emotional, right?
Sure, the
Because,
vulnerability.
I bring up, things, not all the great things in my life that, I had to overcome, but I'm a big believer, and it's a big part of the book, about being able to, I call it, rewrite your story, right? Everyone's dealt a hand of cards, and what you do with them, how you play them is kind of the game of life. And, you could have a bad childhood, product of divorce, or a bad marriage, and you can live in that, or you can pick yourself up and decide, I'm rewriting my story. I'm not going to let that be my story.
Yeah, that's a big issue. I end every one of my radio shows for the last 15 years with the same sentence, and it's from a gentleman that I know. I stole it with his permission from his book, and he said he'd made a lot of money, lost it all, and made a lot of money, and found out that there's a lot of happiness you can create. Having a lot of money is not all there is to it. You can have a lot of money and still be very unhappy. Kind of a fascinating thing. We'll talk more about this when we come back. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. More with Bart Zandbergen when we come back, and we're going to also chat about the Fed just killed your rate cut plan. Here's the math on waiting versus acting. All that and more. Reach me anytime. Off air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com. Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel Lending Team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel Lending Team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 018694452.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Borrow Smart segment today being brought to you by rsrwealthbuilder.com, rsrwealthbuilder.com. Here's a question I have been getting all week. Ron, should I just wait for the Fed to cut rates before I buy? And I get it. Sounds smart, sounds patient. But this week, the math on that plan changed, and most people have not done the math. I am Ron Siegel, certified liability advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. So let me tell you what actually happened. The Federal Reserve meets again on June 17th. And right now, the market is putting the odds of a rate cut at almost zero. Inflation came in around 3.8% and is pushing toward 4%. The job market is still strong, and the forecasters who spent all of last year promising cuts, they're now quietly saying there may be no cuts at all in 2026. Some of them think the Fed is about to remove the language that even hints at cutting. Another way, the plan a lot of people were sitting on, the I'll wait for rates to drop plan, the Fed just took it off the table for now. So what does this mean for you? Let me do the math out loud because the numbers tell a story that feelings do not. Picture a $655,000 home here in Southern California. You want to buy, but you're waiting because you're hoping the rates drop somewhere around 6.75% down to maybe 6.25%. That half a percentage feels the whole game. So you wait a year for it. Here's what waiting a year actually does. Homes in our area have been climbing about 4% a year. So that same $655,000 home is now worth about $681,200. That is $26,200 more than today. You also need about $2,600 more in your down payment just to keep the same terms. Now, here's the part that stings. Let's say you get the lower rate you waited for. You borrow on the bigger number at 6.25%. Your monthly payment drops by about $49 compared to buying today at the higher rate. $49. You waited a whole year. You paid $26,200 more for the house, and you saved yourself the price of a couple pizzas each month. And that's the good version. That's the version where the rate cut actually shows up. This week, the Fed told us it might not show up at all. If rates hold or go up, you paid more for the house and you got nothing for the wait. So what does this mean for you? It means we have to separate two things that are not the same: the price of the house and the rate on the loan. You can change one of them later. You cannot change the other. Here's a line I want you to remember. You marry the house, you date the rate. If rates drop in 2 years, you refinance and keep the lower price you locked in today. But if prices climb while you wait, that higher price is permanent. You can never go back and renegotiate it. That is why I say strategy beats rate always. The person chasing a slightly lower rate is playing the game they do not control because the Fed controls it and the Fed just showed its hand. The person with a strategy is looking at the whole picture: price, payment, equity, liquidity, the number that actually builds wealth over time. And here's where strategy gets practical. You do not have to sit around praying the Fed hands you a lower rate. There is a way to bring your rate down yourself permanently. For the life of the loan, it is called a permanent rate buy down. Instead of a temporary teaser that vanishes after a year or two, this lowers your rate for as long as you keep the loan. I rarely recommend a temporary 1 or 2 year buy down because they expire right when you have gotten used to the lower payment. The permanent buy down is a different animal. You control your rate instead of waiting on the Fed for it. You can see exactly how it works at rsrlinks.com/buydown, rsrlinks.com/buydown. Now, I'm not telling you to run out and buy a house tomorrow. That's not my job. My job is make sure that when you do act, you are acting on math, not on a headline, not on hope. For some families, waiting is the right call. For others, waiting is quietly costing them thousands of dollars while they think they're being careful. The only way to know which one is to run the numbers. Got to start with a consultation. That's why our certified buyer program is so important. Not the neighbor's numbers, not the numbers from a TV anchor, yours. So here's what I want you to do. Go to rsrlinks.com/keysteps. It's a free tool I give families to map out their budget, their next steps, and exactly what waiting versus acting looks like for your situation. Run the math for your home, your income, your goals, then you know instead of guess. Go to rsrlinks.com/keysteps because the Fed did not kill your plan. Waiting without doing the math did. And the math is something you control. I am Ron Siegel, your certified liability advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Thanks for listening to the Borrow Smart segment, brought to you by rsrwealthbuilder.com, rsrwealthbuilder.com. And remember, that Wealth Builder is the only loan I know of right now that has an effective interest rate in many instances below 2%, and it's a 30-year loan. Think about that one. So let's continue our conversation. We are speaking this morning. Bart Zandbergen is with us, author, True Wealth Defined, the 8 Pillars to Discovering Life's Riches. So Bart, I had a friend of mine that one time that he had a real simple definition of true wealth. And I'm sure it's not anywhere close to the depth that you've gone. But he basically said having the money to do what you want and the time to do it. Pretty interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, to me, that's a definition of financial freedom.
Okay.
Which is a component of true wealth. I'll kind of redesign that. For instance, my first pillar is health.
Okay.
You think about your friend in that definition has all the money to do what he wants when he wants to do it. Great. What happens if he has terrible health? He spent all of his career spending, on the grind, trying to make the money, putting the money away, sacrificed his own health, sacrificed his family, sacrificed his kids to have that wealth. Yes, he now has the money to do what he wants when he wants to do it, but he's sick in bed. And now he has to try to use that money to try to regain his health. How many times does that work? Sometimes.
Rare.
And what about the fractured family? What about the fractured relationships? So I'll give him some credit for that definition, but I'll also challenge it. Is that what real wealth is all about?
Yeah, something I think I like your definition better, actually. It's financial wealth or financial independence.
Yeah.
But there's a whole lot more to wealth. At least I believe there's a lot more to wealth if you're a good human. Right? I mean, there's some people that the entire scorecard is money. But I think that if you want to be a good human, you need the health, you need the relationships. What does your charitable giving look like?
Yeah. And those are all, my pillars are the health. So family and friends, making sure that you give enough priority, and also the right family and friends, right? You can have people that, even family that, you're related, but doesn't make them great people.
What doesn't make you good?
Yeah. So I talk about, setting boundaries and, politely and surrounding yourself with people that bring you up.
That's a good thought right there. The one that'll really elevate you.
And at the end too, like if I go to my Facebook now, I probably got 4,100 friends. But how many true friends? Who are my ride or die friends? Well, I can call it 2 a.m. If you have 5 in your life, you are wealthy.
Something I say that all the time. My kids don't understand that yet. It's the one, like you say, it's the one that you can call at 2 a.m. and they'll be there.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure kids ever have a true friend, because I don't know about how you put it in the book, but one of the things I look at is time as a definition of a true friend. Right.
Yeah, if they put up with you for, 30, 40 years, they're probably a pretty good friend.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And, so if you've got somebody that you spend a lot of time with and they're only with them for the last 2 or 3 years, okay, what's going to happen 3 or 4 or 5, 10 years from now?
And there's also period of time friends. Like I have my gym friends. I've had friends from, different jobs when I was out of college. And these were like friends I would do things with all the time. And you move on to another stage in life and they're not there anymore. And that's okay.
Sure.
They were friends at that time. But I go back, I have a call later today. She's a friend of mine from 8th grade.
Wow.
And we can tell each other anything. I've gone 5 years without speaking to her. She calls and it's nothing like, hey, we haven't called, we haven't talked. We just pick up right where we left off. That's a true friend.
That's a true friend.
Yeah.
Right. So and to me, that's one of the big definitions of the true friend.
Yeah.
Right. Is can you, is that length of time? So
getting back to the friends and, defining wealth. So one of the definitions of wealth, if you have 5 really good friends in your life, and if you really think about, your ride or die, someone you can pick up the phone after 5 years, if you have 5, you're wealthy. That's a sign of being wealthy. And that has nothing to do with money.
Absolutely. And something that's amazing, because I use that same number a lot of times when I talk to people.
Yeah.
Is, if you have 5.
Right.
And I wonder how many people that we look at don't have 5 that have that link, that time factor in there.
Yeah.
That's a pretty amazing. How do you communicate that efficiently to your kids and grandkids? Your grandkids are old enough to understand. Mine are pretty young.
Well, I gave them my book.
Okay. Have they read it?
So my 14-year-old granddaughter is almost through it, and she's doing a book report on it. So I was pretty excited about that. Matter of fact, that leads into, remember, there's 8 pillars. One of them is called the invisibles. And you're like, what?
Okay, what's the invisible?
What's an invisible, right? So the things you can't define. But there was a moment. So this granddaughter of mine, hey, and I'm pop to my grandkids. Pop, I'm reading your book. I'm doing a book report. Like, to me, that's a moment that I'll cherish forever. The fact that she, of all the books, that she had enough interest to read something that I created.
Absolutely.
And wants to do a book report on it. It's the same grandchild, and I write about this in the book, is she had a bring a loved one to lunch day. She's got parents and she's got grandparents and she's got nieces. And she asked me to come. That was a moment. Again, I can't define it. It doesn't have a financial value, but it's being able to identify and live in that moment. That is one of my pillars of true wealth.
Yeah, that's that gives you the chills because
It does.
I think as a parent and grandparent, that's what we live for, isn't it?
Oh, 100%.
I mean, that's our mission in life. We can have all the success in the world.
Yeah.
But in my world, if you don't have the family relationships, that's the important stuff. We're going to come back and continue going on with a few more of the pillars here. When we come back with Bart, you can reach me anytime. Our off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Now, here's
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Confused about the home buying process? Or curious how much you really know about buying a home? Take the First Home IQ quiz to test your understanding of buying a home. Created by the nonprofit First Home IQ, this 5-minute quiz will give you a score, what you missed, and why. Take the quiz in 5 minutes at rsrlinks.com/FHIQ and find out what you need to know about buying your first home. That's rsrlinks.com/FHIQ.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. So I'm going to tell you our about one of our issues today, and it is our Mortgage Minute brought to you by, Mortgage 101 brought to you by rsrlinks.com, rsrloans.com. Josh, I got to change the spreadsheet on this one, rsrloans.com. And I'm just going to tell you that tomorrow, if you're in the real estate industry, we're going to be speaking in Tustin at the Career Compass event. And we're going to be talking about Misguided. It's a book I'm working on. It's about those people who have a great CPA, write off everything that's legal, and then find out that they can't qualify for the home loan that they want. And we're going to talk about how you can actually qualify using either a CPA letter or a 1099 or bank statements. There's a lot of different ways that can be done. And there's very few people that understand how to do it. And a lot of people get scared of it because they look at it and say, well, Ron, I'm not getting the best rate out there. And my comment is, if you get a great rate on $0, did you get the house you want? It's like saying, I want a big piece of pie, but there's no pie on the table. Or would you rather have a little piece of a big pie and get something? So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. If you want to join us there, go to the Career Compass. You can register. And if you're a real estate agent, again, you're going to get continuing education credits for the event as well. Mortgage 101 brought to you by rsrloans.com, rsrloans.com. Continuing our conversation, Bart Zandbergen is with us. We're talking about his new book, True Wealth Defined. And ironically enough, Bart is a financial advisor. We're not giving financial advice here, but everything we've talked about within the book is really more about life than it is about finance.
Yeah, 34 years in the business, and I've evolved to a point where I've realized that money is important. It is the 8th pillar, right? Because money brings freedom, but it's putting the meaning into money. That's where the problem is.
And that's kind of interesting that you say that, because how many people do we know that would say, okay, you've got 8 pillars, and how many would say that money would be the very last one on the list?
Not many.
Right.
Not many.
Yeah. I mean, and it's fascinating that you say that, because when you start doing the introspective,
right,
everything you've talked about, in our conversation this morning has been all about more about the wealth of life as opposed to the wealth that's measured in Franklin's.
Yeah.
Right. So tell me some of the other pillars.
So another one I think is very important is faith. And I'm not proposing anyone has any particular faith. I have mine. I'm a Christian, but to have something above yourself, something that you believe in, something that guides you to your true north. That's what's really important. I read a study about centurions, people who live over 100. And there's different studies and different things like the blue zone thing, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Right.
But each one of the people that were studied in this book about the centurions had a couple of things in common. They all, and I think it's kind of interesting, and I'll just tell them all. They all eat a little bit of meat. They all moved daily. They all drank a little bit of alcohol, and they all believed in a higher power.
Okay.
And so the funny aside was, a couple of firms ago, I worked with a guy. His name was Robert. I'll leave the last name out. He was a vegetarian atheist, and he didn't really exercise. So I said, Robert, I'm sorry, but you've got zero chance of living over 100.
Well, you know something, I was just doing my own calculations on whether I should take Social Security or not.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I said, you know something, based on statistics, I should probably take it, because one out of my 6 up above me, as far as my parents and grandparents, none of them got to only one of them got to age 80. But now I have hope again.
Yeah.
Because and I'm a big believer
Yeah.
that one of the biggest problems in our society right now is a lack of faith. This is a society as a whole.
Yeah. So, one of the stories I share is my son, about 10, 11 years ago, he died. He was dead for 11 minutes. It was a terrible accident, just a freak accident in Hawaii. He was jumping off of a cliff, and he happened to come down a little bit chest forward, and like CPR,
right?
Instead of starting as hard, it stopped.
Like that football player.
Right?
That football player that was on the field.
Yeah, I don't watch sports much, but that would make sense.
Yeah.
So he sank to the bottom. His friend fortunately realized he wasn't coming up, dove in. It was like 100-foot cliff. Dove in, got him. By the time he swam one arm to get to the beach, it was timed at 11 minutes. He was dead. There happened to be a vacationing honeymooner from New Zealand. Got his heart started. He went to Maui Memorial. And as a parent, for you and any other parent, you get that call, in the middle of the night.
Ooh.
Your son's in the hospital. We're not sure if he's going to make it. And if he comes back, we don't know what kind of shape he's going to be in. That's the call we got.
Wow.
So we had to get from, LA to Maui and, orchestrate, and my daughter wanted to come. So organize all that. We get there and we sit by his side for 7 days. They put him they reduce his body temperature, put him in a coma, and we prayed. All we did was pray. And we found out later that there was a prayer circle around the whole island of Maui, which they're very spiritual people.
Sure.
He woke up on the 7th day. I know it sounds biblical. Woke up on the 7th day. The tending doctor, surgeon, it's Maui. He was wearing blue jeans, flip flops, and a surgeon coat. He got up, had normal conversation. The surgeon walked out, and I remember like it was yesterday. He was shaking his head. He's like, "This is a miracle."
Wow.
And to me, anyone can believe what they want to believe, but that was faith.
Sure.
Yeah.
Something, I'm a big believer in those things. I've got a dear friend of mine that was given 90 days to live 4 years ago. Yeah. And, all of us pray all the time, and she's still with us and enjoying life. Right. So I'm a big believer that, that higher power. And I think that, I don't know, maybe I think that a lot of times I shouldn't say better people, but when I don't know the right terminology, but I think people have they're more, I don't know, in tune with everybody else with.
Yeah, it's less about them and more about others, maybe, right? That's not as selfish, maybe. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah. It's hard to articulate.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just amazing how, and I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah.
Family and friends, that's your net worth.
Yeah. We talked about that. Peace, and of all the pillars, I probably struggle with that the most, like my inner peace. I run a business like you do. I've got clients, I've got staff, I've got family and grandkids, and a young daughter and older kids. I'm getting pulled in 23 directions at any moment of the day. And so for me, just to find a moment where I can breathe and actually have peace, that is the most challenging. But one of the things that I've done to help with that is I've created what's called a statement of vision. and I update it every year. And then I write down what my life is or will be. And here's an example. In 2001, I wrote my first statement of vision. It's when this whole True Wealth was coming around. And I wrote and I separated it, like, family and finance and faith and all this stuff. And one of the things was I have and I wrote it as if it already happened. I have a vacation, and I was about ready to get divorced. So my life was a shambles. I have a vacation home that the whole family uses. I just planted that seed because that's what I wanted in my life. Well, 2 years ago, I bought a house in Tahiti. That's our vacation home, and the whole family is using it. So I wrote that 20 years ago.
Wow.
Knowing that someday I was going to create that. So yes, it's, there's all things about vision boards and envisioning what you want, but when you put pen to paper, and then this is so old school, I had every one of those, I had laminated it every year, and I put it in the shower because that's where I knew I would be every day, and I could read it, in the shower.
Couldn't miss it.
Yeah. So that has helped me to a certain degree with my peace. It does, I still have a lot of different things going around, but at least the structure of my life, that has been extremely helpful.
Pretty amazing. A lot, it's interesting how you put this into a book and have it now so your kids and grandkids can actually read it and see it and enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm like I said earlier, I'm hoping it's a legacy piece that when I'm long gone, that'll be something that they'll look and not only learn more about me, because there's a lot of my life in there, but also things that will help them with their life going forward.
Well, especially when you start looking at things like, okay, I had this dream, goal, vision 20 years ago that I wanted to have this happen, and now it's reality.
Yeah,
and getting to watch that go forward. So the book's out it's only 2 weeks and it's a bestseller already.
Yeah, it's currently on Amazon, soon to be on Barnes and Noble, Target, Walmart. Audiobook. I'm going to record it. There's pros and cons to that, but I'm going to record it, and it should be out in like 6 weeks.
I hear that's probably as hard as writing the book itself.
Yeah.
Now I would think nowadays with so much of this AI stuff that you can probably put your voice into AI.
You could, but I'm not going to do that. I want real. I want my own inflection, my own, I know the book, so it's going to be me.
So the question will be that when you go to do it is how many times you're going to have to do it to be able to get through it, especially when you're doing things in a vulnerable way. And it's
like that story I told about my son. I was starting to get emotional, and every time I tell that story, so I'm going to have to just power up and get through it. It's going to take me weeks to get through it, right? Because there was a lot of vulnerable spots. Well,
you talk, as a parent, I don't think I could fathom anything in my life that could be worse.
Yeah.
Right. I know some friends who have lost kids and they never recover.
No,
and I'm sure as a financial advisor, you've dealt with a lot of people and some of those things are far more difficult conversations than anything that has to do with money.
100%.
So True Wealth Defined is the name of the book. Bart Zandbergen is our guest's name. If you're watching us on RonSiegelRadio.tv, any of our socials, or the ABC News and Talk AM 1490 or FM 98.1 video feed, you are seeing him and his name scrolling across the bottom of our screen right now. But True Wealth Defined is the name of the book, and I hope you'll go out and read it. I've got a copy now. I'm gonna try and read it, Bart. I might have to wait until the Audible version comes out because I'm tough on. I'm a very good.
You're
reader.
Not alone.
I read what I have to read, but I'm not a good reader. So I did try and read Richard Nixon's memoirs, and I think that might be the last book I actually read. But
dang,
long time ago, because Audible is my friend. But again, go out and get the book from Bart Zandbergen, best-selling author now after 2 weeks. That's a pretty good feat to accomplish.
Thank you so much.
And as always, I ask that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A big thanks to Josh and Sean who are engineering us today. And of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.